listening to the Nerdy Reads podcast, a hipster goblin media production.
Well. Hello, friends, and welcome to the Nerdy Reads podcast. Today, we got our third episode on Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. My name is Justin. I am one of your friends and hosts here at Nerdy Reads podcast. And with me is my fellow host, Robert. What's up, dude?
Justin, what's going on, dude? That, as always, happy to be here for an episode of the Nerdy Reads podcast. But that, well, caught me off. Oh, man.
Hey, that's what I was trying to do. I was seeing if I could throw you off just a smidge. So here we are. We're in Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. We covered parts. What was this? 4 and
we're going through
4.
Yeah, we covered parts 3 and 4 last time out of.
Okay. So this
books broke up in 8 parts.
So this is 5 and 6. So here we are, parts 5 and 6. This is a book by Grady Hendrix. So Robert, give us the rundown. Where are we at?
All right, man. So just a real brief, because a lot happened last week. So
Sure.
just a brief chunk. Like Zinnia joined the girls at the Wayward home. She became fast friends with Fern, Rose, and Holly. Those girls were visited by Miss Parquet. I'm not reading the audiobook, so if I butchered her name, my bad. But she's on that traveling bookmobile where she gave them the book, How to Be a Groovy Witch. Turns out Miss Parquet is a witch, and she's trying to teach these girls witchcraft for some nefarious reason, I'm sure. The girls are surprised when the spells in the books that they try to actually work. And when they try to learn more, they get discouraged because it doesn't make any sense. So then we got some tragic backstories, which essentially led to all the girls forming a coven of witches to protect Holly, the youngest girl in the inn, from ever having to return to the life she had before she came to Miss Wellwood's house. So Zinnia, although kind of gets freaked out by the whole thing, and she tries to back out of the coven, but things take a turn. Rose goes into labor, and then the coven watches one of their own leave the Wayward home.
Man, oh man. Yeah. And
There's a lot last week, dude. A lot.
That was a lot last week, and it's a lot this week. So
yeah,
go ahead.
You messaged me over the weekend, and you're like, dude, I always walk away sad after I read this book. Mm-hmm. And that's accurate. It's all sad boy summer reading Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna be. And this is probably not a criticism. This is much more of just a comment, and it's probably because it is so well done. I don't know if I enjoy this because of how, I do walk away a little bit bummed every time I'm done with this. It's got that dark vibes to it. And I know people love that. And so that's totally cool if that's your thing. Man, this is a hard one.
Yeah. The thing when Rose, she left and to have her baby. And then the thing with Rose is she always wanted to keep her baby and live on the farm and all that good stuff. But they basically took her baby from her, forced her to give it away, claimed they would threaten to have her declared incompetent and then locked up in an insane asylum. And they even went as far as to lock her up in one with someone else overnight.
Yeah.
And dude, it's dark on a new level, man.
It's just messed up in general, and that kind of leads us to where we are, right? Because at that point, Rose then wants to do this ultimate spell.
Rose is ready to inflict pain. So they set off and they find Miss Parquet's whole coven of witches, the hippies in the woods. I do like that they thought they were the Mansonites. I like that they keep bringing up that in this book. But they find the hippies in the woods, and Miss Parquet is all right, y'all want to do the thing? You have to really have intention. You have to mean it, and you have to do the thing. And man,
it's if you want this to be, if you want the spell. So basically, if they want the spell to be epic, they have to inflict some pretty real pain on themselves and blood, and what Rose does, we're talking ripping her fingernail off and
turned my stomach, dude.
The whole time I'm sitting there listening to this, and Rose is so intense with it. Because she just went through a real thing, and she felt so hopeless and helpless because, here's this girl, even Fern's please, Rose, it can't be Rose. Rose can't break down.
Yeah.
Rose has to be all right.
She was like
she
their
has to be
strength
strong
through the book.
Yeah, she's got to be strong here, and when she, Rose in that moment wasn't, so she saw this as a chance to, seems like to me anyway, a chance to kind of gain some of that back by being strong in casting this spell. But bro,
yeah, they went from like a little coven of witches playing at witchcraft with this cute little egg, and now we're stabbing chicken hearts with needles.
Oh yeah,
we're under the moon, cutting fingernails off, like you said, ripping them off. Oh, it made my. And Grady Hendrix is so good, dude. And the way he wrote that scene and described, like, I felt like my finger. I seized up reading it, bro.
Yes, bro. Yeah.
And then
it was so messed up.
I actually looked up the name of the Wiccan deities that they were like basically chanting to. One of them was the goddess of the moon. The other one was like called the Horn One, and then there was the Greek goddess of magic. Because I for some reason I don't trust Miss Parquet. I still don't trust her. No. I don't know if she a demon. I don't know if she wants something, but basically Rose casts her spell. The girls fly, which I thought was pretty cool. And then she gets like this brown powder in a bag, and she puts like half of it in Miss Wellwood's coffee, and she tells Fern, which I thought was interesting because they mentioned like the numbers that have power. She's like, hey, 13 days later, you need to put this in Miss Wellwood's coffee because I'm going to be gone. And then Rose left, and I think part of the thing that made me sad also is kind of like how these girls get brainwashed in this home. And when Rose was leaving, the girls were chanting like fingers and legs, or whatever. And they said it was because you need to keep your fingers crossed and your legs closed so you don't return here again. I'm like, man, they just really like traumatize these young ladies for their mistake up here, dude.
Yeah. There's no better way of saying it. I mean, it's a traumatizing book in general, dude. I'm just saying.
It is, bro. I actually started rooting for the witchcraft to pop off. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah, dude, no doubt, bro. Because I was like, man, the house part itself is so depressing. And dude, I know we're getting ready to get into it here in a few, but
about what that powder does.
But then when you see like the story of Miss Wellwood in that moment,
man,
then you start to go, well, daggone. It goes to show that, like, in so many of these type of moments, there's always a why. It doesn't make it right? It doesn't make right what people do, but there's always some sort of why as to why people think a certain way, And okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Fern gives the rest of the powder to Miss Wellwood. Yeah. And basically Fern, after doing it, Fern like lies to Zinnia, which is pretty big. Because Zinnia was trying to talk her out of doing it. And Fern's like feeling guilt over it. And she's feeling so much guilt over it. She goes sees Miss Parquet the witch again. And she's like, man, Miss Parquet's looking sick, health in decline. What's going on? And she tells Fern like, hey, I'm dying. And, I want you to come with us, Fern. And Fern doesn't want that life. But she does want Holly to be safe. So she kind of's like, will you take Holly? And Zinnia's like, yeah, dude, if Holly casts a spell, I'll take her. But before, like in the middle of all that happening, Fern's like, all right, I'm going to get Holly to pop off. We switch to a character we don't really see a lot of, and that's Hager, the chef. Yeah. And now you're in her perspective. And I was like, what's going on here, dude?
Yeah, that was a weird shift. But yeah.
It was a weird shift because they're like, oh, Fern's 37 weeks pregnant. I'm like, man, Fern's about to have this kid. And then the very next chapter, it's like, oh, wait, why are we in Hager's perspective? And
sure.
She's driving out to check on Miss Wellwood, and it was just a scene that messed me up so much reading it. I was squirming. It gave me the heebie-jeebies, bro.
Yeah, because basically, it's crazy because she walks in or she gets to the house and she knocks and Miss Wellwood doesn't want her to see. She's like, nope, don't come in. And even then she has the lights off. And so she goes, I want to see you, and she basically stands up and the impossible has happened.
I didn't want to see either, bro.
Yeah, the impossible has happened.
Miss Wellwood pregnant. She's far
pregnant.
along pregnant.
And then this is where, to me, it gets so bananas.
Yeah,
because
it's that Grady Hendrix horror moment, right?
Because then basically, she's the chef is like, nah, bro, like me and we're gonna take care of this like right now. And okay, so from what I'm understanding, you tell me if I'm wrong. Basically, she has her hands up in there, grabbing and rooting around in Miss Wellwood's innards to basically rip this baby out of there, because they're also saying like there's no way you would be this pregnant at this point, right? Like like she's like something is amiss. So she's up there because she's like there's something evil in there, and so she's like up in there trying to rip this, and then the whole time Miss Wellwood's like, you're getting this inner monologue
of why she's jacked up,
of why she's messed up, and she's feeling these hands, and she's talking about feeling these like all this happening inside of her body right now. And then you hear about what has happened to her in the past and how she's been felt unclean and as the worst. I mean, it's she basically like became the very monster her father was to her, right? She got impregnated by a dude, but she wanted a relationship with the guy, but her father's like, absolutely not. Right.
And I mean, it was kind of sad really to see how she herself was manipulated. And but now she's like, she's her father's daughter. The whole thing's sad, but dude, they ripped out eels out of her, like those glass eels that they mentioned. If you swim in the river, the eel that was up in her. They were pulling those out. My whole
Yeah.
Thanks, Grady Hendrix, for that visual, man.
Yeah, thanks, bro. Thanks.
But hey, they got the spell worked. Rose got her revenge on Miss Wellwood, and Hagar. There's more to her than meets the eye because she knows.
Yeah, she's like something's going on here. Yeah,
right. She gets back, and they I guess before she gets back, Fern and Holly are now on the beach, and Holly's about to cut her tongue off, and I'm like, this dude knows how to make me feel the right amount of uncomfortable, man.
Well, okay, so here I had questions about that actually. Because they have to have a certain level of pain for things to work out. So like it can't just be some miniature like, oh, I'm just gonna prick my finger.
A pinprick.
Yeah, it's like you can't just do that. It has to be something, So Rose is ripping off her fingernails. Rose is like, doing all these different things to like hurt herself, and that got somebody pregnant, and they're just trying to get rain. Okay. Yeah. Like why? My question: why is your go-to cutting your tongue off?
I don't know, dude.
Bro, Holly, do anything else. Like rip your toenails off, do anything, but you're talking about cutting part of your tongue off. There ain't no coming back from that. Your toenails and fingernails grow back, and fingernails got somebody pregnant that shouldn't be pregnant. And you're just trying to get rain. Like rip a toenail, do anything other than clip. Like, and they're like, we brought scissors just in case. Like what?
And she had it on her like luckily Hagar like busts through and like catches them, and then Fern all but comes clean to her, and that's when Hagar's like, well, we need to bottle this storm up and bury it, because like half done and half finished spells cause a lot of issues. And now there's like questions if Hagar's a witch because she knows all this stuff. And I'm kind of curious about Hagar. I think she's going to have a bigger role going forward in this book, for sure. But
I'm kind of wondering that too. I'm wondering because she seems to know how to keep them at bay. But she did say she's like, I'm from the woods. I'm from here. Like I put up with this, and we don't know how long technically the witches have been there. So I mean, they could have been there her whole life, but. Yeah, I'm kind of curious too. There's more history there than what
there is. And we're getting to the end of this discussion. Like the girls decide we're done with witchcraft. GG. So they confront Miss Parquet again, and they're like, hey, we're out. And that worked about as good as like some corner boys telling their boss, like, I don't want to sell for you anymore. She's like, no. She got real sour real quick, bruh. She's like, well, guess what? Fern, I want you. She told Fern, like, no one's looked at the book the way you have. No one's really absorbed it the way you have in years. All these witches throughout history live in me. I'm dying. I need a fresh body, essentially. I kind of thought of like some soul transference, weird stuff happening. and she's trying to essentially take over Fern's body.
Yeah. Did you mention the book being burned?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I forgot about that.
No, you're good.
They did burn that book. Yeah. That's important.
No, you're good. And I was wondering because like that happened and because didn't Fern tried to say, hey, the book was burned and that made her very upset, the witch.
Yeah.
And then she was basically saying like, hey, if there was another way, I would go on and try to find another person, but really there's no time. I'm dying. It's got to be you.
Yeah. She said like, there's no spell for liver cancer. Like,
right. Yeah.
It's you. You're coming with me.
Yeah.
And Fern's like scared at this point. She's like, nah, I'm not doing it. Yeah. And they all they like roll out and Hagar helps them. Like you said, she kind of knows how to ward the witches off. They bury like silver in the corner. She puts a horseshoe up on the house and then salt. That happens later. Like the witches come at night and nothing happens the first night. Like I thought it was cool. Like Fern looking out the window and seeing all these witches in the trees and like the dog and they can't get onto the property. So then the next day the witches are like, well, we may not be able to get in, but we can, conjure a storm of rocks and throw them y'all while you're out there trying to do laundry, which that was pretty crazy. And Miss Wellwood, though, she comes back and she's like, nah, give me all my silver. Get that horseshoe down. I don't believe in this nonsense.
Right.
And you think Miss Wellwood would be a little bit like, what just happened to me?
Yeah. if anything, Miss Wellwood should believe in all that nonsense because Miss Wellwood just had her innards rearranged.
She just went through it.
Yeah.
I mean,
there ain't no, if you do, you should. That's all we got. Yeah.
And then, dude, to end it, we had probably one of my favorite scenes of the entire book. Like, it's late at night. Everyone's gone except for Nurse Kent and the 13. 13's an important number. Pregnant women. And, like, they got the bump, bump, thump, thump. Doorknobs are rattling. But Hagar put that salt down, which is supposed to keep the witches from getting in. That whole scene was, like, classic horror, dude. I love the things that go bump in the night. You're helpless in a house alone. The phones don't work. All the tropes were there. And it was done really well and effectively here.
Yeah. Yep. It was a scary moment. I love the fact that the nurse goes out and everybody's like, there must be the second phone. Or she's just leaving us. And she comes back like, packing.
She came back with a gun. When that nurse, Fern opened the door so the nurse could go outside, I'm like, I've seen enough horror movies. Nurse Kent dead. She gone. I was actually surprised everything worked out for her.
Oh, yeah. Me too, actually. Because I was almost 100% for sure certain. I was like, well...
Yeah, well, as soon as she stepped over the salt, I'm like,
she gone.
Nurse Kent lives. She's good. Yeah. Hagar gave all the girls a little bag with some charms in it to protect them. Mm-hmm. But Fern looked at it and was like, this just looks like paper and plastic bits. Like she feels weak and vulnerable and she's regretting everything that's happened. And that's where we end, dude. And we're like racing to the end now.
Yep.
One more episode to go. I'm ready to see this one through. Like you said, dude, I do come away sad, like the situation the girls are in. I love Grady Hendrix books. This one's no exception. I hope it sticks to landing. I think it's safe to assume Miss Parquet is not going to stop.
Yeah.
Any predictions?
I'm kind of... so a part of me thinks because, what's it, Hagar or whatever her name is, she keeps saying this is the last time, essentially, and she's just so upset. My one prediction is that she's going to do something in the end that sacrifices herself so that those girls can go on.
See, I have a similar thought, but I think it's going to be Miss Wellwood. I think Miss Wellwood sacrificed herself for her garden of girls.
Yeah.
I think she's going to try and
I think we're going to see
her sins type deal and.
Well, and I think too, what Grady Hendrix did effectively here is that you see Miss Wellwood and you see that she was at one point a victim as well.
Yeah.
And even though she's kind of been like the jerk this whole entire time, there's a little part, we all felt sympathy for her, didn't we? In that moment.
For about 5 seconds, I felt sympathy for her.
We did, because we're sitting here thinking here she is going through all this thing, but then you hear her story. And you're like, wait a second, and then you think all her father's paintings are all over the house and And those are just constant reminders of like, how she fell short in his eyes, and so all the things she's doing now is all to just make up for that, I think, and try to make him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you start to see that, and all these people are starting to become human, and so it's a little more gray than it was when we first started. Miss Wellwood was just this evil, crazy psychotic woman. Is she still evil? I mean, yeah, there's evil things going on there in the way
but they gave it purpose.
They gave it purpose.
Like you said, the why.
And it's, so now I think that, I could see that. I think that's a good prediction, is Miss Wellwood will do something huge to save the girls, and it'll make all the things that we read in the first like 4 parts feel,
it'll feel better. I'll feel a little better. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's kind of,
she actually cares about these women.
Yeah.
It's not just about the money.
And that's the thing I think too, is like, when you look at that, you're like, well, maybe this is what it, like, in her own way, maybe that's exactly it. Like maybe she does really, really care, excessively even. And this is just how she knows how to do it. I don't know.
What about Rose, man? You think we see Rose? I know they name dropped her a little bit. J.O. They gave her like Joe, and Fern's like Josephine, Joanna. Will I ever see her again? You think we see Rose?
I'm going to predict that we don't see Rose again.
Rose gone. Well, all right, dude.
I'm going to say no. I'm just going to stand firm and say no, but just know that there's a hint of doubt in my mind.
The other side, I got one last prediction. It's a tragic prediction. I think Holly's not going to have to go back to her nightmare of a house, because I have some bad feeling something bad is going to happen to Holly in the end of this book. I don't want it.
I have a bad feeling that we're going to see. I have a bad feeling that Miss Wellwood's going to make a sacrifice, and Fern is going to carry the witches forward, and the sacrifice will be for nothing. And it'll leave us in doubt even about Fern. Like it'll have that little, remember Willie the Weirdo?
Yep.
And it's like, it kind of leaves it. There's going to be some sort of little thing that Fern does in the end that makes you go, wait a second. Kind of moment. That's what I'm predicting.
I like it.
You're wrong. So you got any 3 words for this one?
Yeah, bro. It's real easy for me. That witch crazy.
Without doubt, dude. Without a doubt, dude. Keep your fingernails.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep them. All right, guys. That's it for us, man. We got one more week of this. Very dark and sinister, twisted story by Grady Hendrix. So we'll give you our final thoughts on it next week as we close this one up on Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. We'll see you next time.